Hi guys, it's Steph here from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a Books Beside My Bed video for you where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. This is in fact my 300th Books Beside My Bed video, and I was really hoping to do something fun and to be just a little bit more presentable, but as it turns out this weekend I have an ear infection and potentially an eye infection, and I'm just falling apart a little bit, but that's okay. So we're still going to talk about books. We're still going to celebrate 300 videos of recent reads, which is just insane. And I'm going to talk about what I read this week. I should preface that, that's why I am very casual and I have very little to no makeup on this week, because my face and my head is not having a great weekend. So we're just going to try and not make things worse. This is my reading week from the 1st until the 7th of October. I read 10 things this week that I'm going to talk about in this video, plus a few bits and pieces for some of the vlogs that are coming out over the next couple of weeks that you guys will have heard about if you've seen my paranormal vlog series that I started last week. But yeah, I have quite a few things to talk about, so we're going to jump straight in. First things first, I finished reading the Readings Kids Middle Grade Fiction Prize shortlist. So that is a shortlist of 6 middle grade titles by Australian authors that Readings, which is an independent bookseller here in Melbourne, they have a kids prize every year and they award one of those books sort of their best middle grade book of the year. So I've been reading through all 6 books. I have shared them on here, and I will have a video specifically on the shortlist going up on my little Bookish teacher channel as well. So the next one that I was reading in that prize was the Eerie Excavation by Harrier. This is the second book in the Alice England mystery series. This is about a young girl. She has a disability. She walks with a limp, and she enjoys a good mystery, and she often drags her friends along for the ride. And in this case, her friends are hoping to go off to a K-pop camp over the summer, but they can't get in, and Alice manages to get them a place at an archaeological dig instead. And so they go along and they quickly figure out that things are not quite what they seem, and that the people in charge of the dig may or may not know what they're doing or may have ulterior motives, and they have to figure out what's going on. This one is a great one for October because it is investigating a mystery. They think there might be a ghost involved, and it was an enjoyable middle grade mystery story. I also read The Wintrish Girl, which was the last book that I had to read for this prize. It is the first book in the Talismans of Fate series by Melanie. This is quite a hefty middle grade fantasy story. So straight away we know this was never going to be my absolute favorite in the series, just because I am not a fantasy person, but it was an interesting enough story. And to be honest, I really enjoyed sort of the last third of the book a lot more than sort of the build up. And there was a lot that had to go into setting up the world because it is a fantasy book. And I know plenty of middle grade fantasy readers who would love the setup of this. But essentially we have Pen, who is our heroine. She is the not sister of the future ruler of this kingdom. And being a not sister simply means being born on the same day at the same time as your not sibling. And so Pen was taken from her family and placed with this future ruler. Their relationship is not fantastic. And now that they are both of the age where children in their realm get their talismans of power, these objects that give them amazing abilities, everything sort of comes to a head, and we know that Pen comes from a rival town that has since been locked out of the kingdom where she now lives, and strange things are afoot, and there is an evil that has come back to the town, and everyone blames Pen, but Pen is sort of just caught up in what's been going on in this world for a very long time before she was ever involved. There is a lot of action, there's a lot of adventure, there's a lot of things that go on. My favorite was sort of the third act, where we start to get a lot of the reveals and reasons behind what's happening. Like, that stuff I love. But if you enjoy a good fantasy middle grade story, this is probably one to check out. I also read Ghost Book. Now this is a recent release. It is a graphic novel by Remy. It is the story of a boy and a girl. They're 12 years old, and it is a bit of a ghost story. So back when they were first born, one of them was supposed to die and one of them was supposed to live, but both of them lived, and that has now caused issues for the rest of their lives, as one is untethered from his body quite often, and the other is often forgotten by people around her. But now that it is Hungry Ghost Month, strange things happen. They have to try and figure out how to keep William's soul attached to his body, and they have to try and do it without risking Julie's life in the process. This was a really fun full color graphic novel. I had a really good time with it, great for October, and just a really interesting read with some ideas and some characters and some things that I haven't seen in ghost stories before. All right, moving into some of the adult titles that I read this week. I did read a hockey romance. I read Meet Your Match by Kandi Steiner. I do have an arc of the second book in this series, which I think is the Kings of the Ice series that I'm going to be receiving later in the year. So I wanted to read the first book and get a feel for the characters and make sure that this is something that I'm interested in reading. This is a forced proximity workplace romance featuring an NHL rookie player who is sort of the hotshot on the team. He's a bit of a playboy until he meets the heroine and he falls for her pretty hard. Given the type of story this is, they don't get along at first. It is a bit of hate to love, and that's always enjoyable. And I can say that I really enjoyed this first foray into Kandi Steiner's writing. I'm interested in seeing what happens in the second book in the series and getting to know some more of the characters. As I was reading this one, I was like, oh, I think I know who this story is going to be about when I pick up the second book. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's the thing I think I like so much about hockey romances, is that we do get that team element quite often if there's a series. So I always want to know more about all of the other characters. Anyway, this was a really fun and sort of light, easy read. That was great because I was reading it in between all of my other paranormal stuff. And you guys know that sometimes I just need to break it up. I also read and finished a series, and I'm so sad that this series is finished because I love this series with my whole heart, and it is the Relic series by Maddox. I read Gardens and Ghosts, which is book 5, the final book in my Dinosaur Shifter romance series, and I love this so much. In this one, we finally get Montana's story. Montana is sort of the head of the Relic crew, and the whole way through the series we've known that he's dealing with the loss of his husband. He was the only one of them who had a relationship, was married for a very long time, and his partner passed away before the series began. And so Montana's been dealing with that. And he's still grieving. I think it's only been 7 or 8 years since his partner passed away. In book 3, I think it was, we met Henry, who was a relatively new shifter, and he's been adopted by the Relic crew, so he's quite young by their standards in terms of being a human, and so he's still learning. And at the start of this book we see a lot of his lessons and how the others are trying to help him acclimatize to being human and also to surviving in these times, because he still has all of his dinosaur instincts which overrule pretty much everything else. Both Henry and Montana are Tyrannosaur dinosaurs, and Henry is just besotted with Montana. Like, he is just, I can't even believe I'm going to say this, a golden retriever T-Rex. Like, he is just head over heels for Montana. And he is trying to woo Montana, and Montana is just completely missing the signs. And the others are not helping because the others are egging Henry on, and it's kind of funny. So Henry and Montana end up going on a mission together because Montana needs some backup. They are trying to track down potentially the secret to being able to create more shifters. And this is really important to them, and they need to get it right, and they just keep coming up against roadblock after roadblock, and it's great. And Henry has a huge learning curve when interacting with humans. He does a whole lot of things completely randomly. He runs on instinct. He's also a plant dad. He collects plants, and in the middle of a heist he rescues an orchid because he's unhappy with how the orchid's owner is treating it. If you just want a fun, escapist, enjoyable series, the Relic series is for you, and this book was just a great wrap up to the series. Like, I'm sad there's not going to be any more books, but I'm so happy with how it ended. I also read The Problem with Dating by Brittainy Cherry. I received an ARC copy of this to review, and this is Brittainy Cherry's latest contemporary romance. This one is going for a bit of a contemporary rom-com feel, but I found that this one still had a huge amount of drama in it because both the hero and the heroine are dealing with toxic exes, and they just keep popping up. So we are following Yara and Alex. Yara has lived in this small town her whole life and is a very sunshiny character. In fact, the series is going to follow her and her 2 sisters and their romances. And she has taken over the running of a doggy daycare center. People just walk all over her because she's nice. Like, they are behind on their payments because she can't say no to them. And across the road, there is a new guy in town. He's from the city. He's opened up a fancy pants restaurant, and the rest of the town is unhappy because he is a total grump. He doesn't want to be involved in the community. What they don't know is that he is opening this restaurant because the woman who raised him, who was his great aunt, told him that this was the last thing that she wanted him to do before she died. And that was to open this restaurant in this particular town, in this particular spot. So there's some stuff that relates to at the end of the book, which I won't talk about because that's spoilers, but he's grumpy that he's had to open it there, and it takes a while for the town to warm up to him. And along the way, there's quite a bit of vandalism that happens to his restaurant because of other reasons. Yara was married. She's split from her husband. It is quite a toxic divorce. And in fact, a lot of the town has turned on her because they can't believe why she would have divorced someone so good. But of course, their relationship and their marriage was not perfect, and no one else knows that. And so they're both dealing with people coming at them from multiple directions. To make matters worse, both of them live in the same apartment. They just get under each other's skin because he is the black cat in the relationship, she's the golden retriever, and they just are at each other quite a bit until eventually they're not. They end up entering into a fake dating situation that benefits both of them. And of course, this forces them to spend time together and to realize, one, that they're both people. They do have feelings, but they address things in different ways. And eventually real feelings begin to form. I enjoyed the story. This is another one of those books where I enjoyed this book a whole lot more from the 50% mark. We don't even hit the fake dating stuff until after 50% of the way through the story. So this is one you are going to have to sit through some build up. And at one point I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to be able to do that. Is the payoff worth it? I think it is. And I think what kept me going through the first part where I wasn't sure whether to continue or not was that I knew it was Brittainy Cherry. I've never given Brittainy Cherry anything less than 4.5, 5 stars. This one is probably not my favorite of her books that I've read so far, but I did enjoy sort of what I think she was trying to achieve. I could have done with some toning down of the drama with the exes and things like that. But overall, like, I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the couple, and I enjoyed their relationship. Kind of think we probably could have got there a little bit faster. So this is definitely for people who like their contemporary romances a little bit dramatic. If you like animals in the story, there are plenty of pets. Both of them have dogs with hilarious results. And if you like food, because Alex is a chef, he runs multiple restaurants and he is very good at what he does, and there's a lot of talk of food. I will content warning in this one. You have death of a loved one, you have toxic exes, death of a parent during childbirth. That's mentioned. It's not on page, but it is mentioned. And you have quite significant emotional abuse from a spouse. And I also read Louisa Master's Ghostly Guardians series, which is 3 books and 1 novella. There is a 4th book, a 4th full-length novel that I haven't read yet, which if I get a chance to, I'll read before the end of the month. But these were the ones that I purchased from Louisa when I was at Rare. So the novella is Eternal Luck. This one is super short, and this sort of just sets up this series in that this is a series about a haunted mansion where a group of people work and live alongside a group of ghosts, and they basically run a museum and immersive experience. So they get to experience life in the past. There is a museum with historical objects, and then they have ghosts who can manifest and talk to the people visiting and staying there overnight. Eternal Luck introduces the owners of this mansion, who are a little bit eccentric. All of these books are MM stories. The 2 owners of the mansion met by chance and then end up winning the lottery together, and they end up married, and they have this life together, and it's extravagant, and then something sort of goes off the rail with their relationship, and as they're trying to repair said relationship, they stumble across this small town and this haunted manor where they meet the ghosts. They decide to buy it and fix it up, and that is sort of setting the premise for these books. So book 1 is Spirited Situation, and we're following Josh, who has just taken on a new job. He's to be sort of an administrative assistant at Maddox estate. He's really excited. He's always been able to see ghosts, which has been a bit of a problem, and he's excited because he wants to get out of the big city. He wants to go somewhere where no one's going to think any different of him from seeing ghosts. He's not quite sure he believes that there are ghosts, actual ghosts at Maddox Manor, but you know, he knows it's a possibility, but he also knows that it's not going to make him weird if he can actually see them, because that's what people expect. Before he gets there, he has a one-night stand with a guy called Ewan, and then realizes that Ewan is the blacksmith that lives on site at Maddox estate. And so there's a little bit of to and fro as they try and figure out whether this is even something they can pursue as a relationship, because now is a workplace romance. And the ghosts are definitely real. There are 6 ghosts that live at Maddox estate. They are hilarious through the whole series because they're all from different time periods and they all have different commentary on different things, and they like to butt into the humans' relationships quite a bit. But when Josh gets there, he realizes that the ghosts have been keeping secrets from everyone else who works there, the senior management team that run the estate, and that there is a dangerous, malevolent being trapped in the basement. Given that Josh is the only medium that the ghosts have on hand, he's their go-to person to try and sort out this mess that they've found themselves in. So this is really fun. And then you jump into Vortex Conundrum, which is about the estate manager. So Kieran is very straight-laced, he's very serious, and he's determined to keep the Maddox estate running smoothly. And of course, everything that happened in the first book, all of the reveals that we get have sort of raised his blood pressure a little bit. And then the hits keep on coming, and they end up needing to call on Connor, who was someone that they asked for assistance and guidance in the previous book, to come out and actually help them on the estate. It turns out Connor is a demon hunter. Suddenly, not only do they have ghosts, but demons are real, and that just sets Kieran off even more. And Connor loves to push Kieran's buttons. And if you know anything about me, I do like a romance where the characters push each other just a little bit. I do love that in this one, Kieran is bisexual, and that is talked about. And then the third book is Conduit Crisis, and this one is sort of the culmination of a slow burn that's been building through the other books in the series between Daniel, who is the farmer on the property, and Skye, who runs the front desk. And this is a friends to lovers bisexual awakening story between the two of them, as we discover that Skye is a conduit, someone that can be possessed by certain types of spirits. And this obviously freaks him out to no end. And so the friendship group is trying to keep him safe and trying to find out why the spirits are using him, because they have a message for the team that work at the Maddox estate. If you want something fairly fun, lighthearted with a paranormal spin on it, this was just highly enjoyable. And I am very excited to read the final book, featuring a couple of the characters that we have met so far in the series. That will be coming very, very soon. So those are the books that I have read in the last week. In the comments, I would love to know if you've read any of them or if you're planning on picking any of them up. Otherwise, feel free to share something that you have been reading and loving this week. Or if you want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave a dinosaur emoji down below. I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.